Hey, today we get to talk about our first Japanese horror movie of 1970. This movie, known as The Vampire Doll in the United States, has a direct translation from Japanese to English of Horror of the Haunted House Bloodthirsty Doll. The artwork for the poster is beautiful. I'm not sure which title I like better. There's definitely a house. You can kind of see it back in here. Okay, there's a house. Here's the premise. You tell me which title you think is better. The premise is this: a man goes to see his girlfriend. His girlfriend has died in a car accident. He is stricken with grief, but then he sees his girlfriend, even though he's just been told that she's dead. He goes to her, and then we don't know what happens next. Meanwhile, his sister is looking for him. She knows that he went to visit his girlfriend. So his sister and sister's boyfriend go to girlfriend's house, where girlfriend's mom is living. They ask about her. Mom says she died in a car crash. They ask about the girl's boyfriend, who is now missing, and they can't find him. So the whole thing is the mystery. Meanwhile, different people have been citing the girl who had supposedly died in a car crash. So the whole thing is a big mystery, and we're trying to figure out what is happening. Okay? Some weird stuff happens. Now, I'm gonna give this movie a 7 out of 10. It was very well shot. It looks beautiful. It's restored and up on Amazon Prime Video. And it was cool, but so much of it is mystery based. And then at the end, the full reveal is done by speaking. Someone sits there and explains everything that happened. Now, I'm not going to go through the full reveal because this is worth watching, so you should go watch it. If you stuck with these videos this long, you might as well go watch this one because it's one of the better ones from 1970. So, I will say that the girl does appear at the end. This is a little bit of a spoiler here. And you can kind of see right here, there's a knife. Now, this poster is a little confusing because this is the girl who supposedly died in a car crash. This is also her, and this is also her. It's not three different characters there. It's all her in various forms. So, did she become a vampire after she died? Well, I think so. It's hard to tell, but she did open someone's throat. You never see her drink from anybody's throat or drink any blood, and it's hard to tell if she's truly a vampire or if she's a ghost, as it appears here, or if she is not dead at all and just under some kind of trance. So I'll leave that to you to figure out. But one thing I want to say here is she goes and cuts someone's throat at the end with that knife, and it is a glorious spurt of blood, unlike anything else I've seen in 1970. It was so much cooler looking than anything else. The closest thing besides that has been Beast of Blood, where there was some cool effects, but not this kind of spray that you get from here. And then it made me think. I've seen Kill Bill a few times. Quentin Tarantino is one of my favorite directors. And I heard Quentin Tarantino talk about how when he did Kill Bill, he wanted the blood spraying to be in the Japanese style. And so I realized Kill Bill came out in, like 2003, something like that. This is from 1970, and there's this beautiful spurt of blood. I was wondering how far back this goes. So I went back and I asked some people, and I found out that this blood spurting has been happening in samurai movies at least since 1963 or 1964. So that does put it on par with Blood Feast for the gore. But so the Japanese have been doing it just as long as Herschel Gordon Lewis. Herschel Gordon Lewis gets the credit from everything I've ever seen. But the Japanese people have been doing it forever. Also, this story is so much more coherent. It's not super packed full of action, but it's more coherent, and it's got better effects than almost anything else I've seen. The girl looks great when she's in vampire ghost trance mode. She looks awesome. She looks creepy. She actually looks creepy. The way she moves, the way the makeup is done, she looks really good. And the final shot there with the blood spurt just looks so good. And it really made me want to open up and see more Japanese movies, because this is just beyond anything that I've seen from the US or the UK or other parts of Europe for 1970 so far. It's like way ahead, way ahead. I should also say this was produced and distributed by Toho. That's a Japanese major film company that's been outgoing since the 1930s, and they are responsible for such other things as Seven Samurais and most, if not all, of the Godzilla movies, which there's like 50 of them or something like that. So they're the production company behind Godzilla, and they did this as well. So there's probably a good amount of money and experience going into this. The director was Michio Yamamoto. This was his first film. He did 3 vampire films. The other ones came out in 71 and another one after that, 72 or 73. So I'll be getting to those. I'm kind of excited now that I saw this one and enjoyed it. So that's it for the Vampire Doll, or Horror of the Haunted House Bloodsucking Doll. There is a doll in it, but the doll does not suck any blood or anything like that. So the girl is not a doll. Too bad. That's like a confusing title to me. But also, I don't know any Japanese and stuff like that. I'm not sure if it would make more sense in Japanese than it does to this rough English translation. Now, before we go, I do want to talk about one other movie that showed up on a horror list. It's also Japanese. It is The Blind Woman's Curse is the name of it in America. In Japan, the translation translates to Ghost Story Rising Dragon. Now, this movie was really cool. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but I don't know if I would consider it a horror movie or not. Leaning towards not, which is why I'm not giving it its own video. Even though Ghost Story is in the title. But to be honest with you, it's very confusing. The beginning of it makes sense to me, and then it starts to really not make sense. I would consider this more of a crime film, probably more of the type of film that influenced Kill Bill. This is a Yakuza gangster film. There's warring gangs in the film. The main one that we have as protagonists are led by this woman here on the cover of the poster. At the beginning, she goes to kill some guy, and then the guy's sister gets in the way, and she accidentally slices the girl in the eyes. This is, by the way, more violent than any horror movie from 1970 that I've seen. So she slices this girl in the eyes, blinds her, okay, and then like later on, one of the plots is that the blind girl wants to get revenge, okay. This one is definitely worth a watch, as long as you don't mind watching a movie where you may not understand the whole thing. It's also possible you'll understand it better than I did, especially if you know more about Japanese cinema. I mean, I totally understood the entire Vampire Doll. That was easy. This one, it just gets weirder and weirder, and there's a lot of subplots. But the special effects are great. All the action and fighting is great. There's tons of sword fighting. The reason why I'm even mentioning it is because there's a part where this weird hunchback guy comes, and this hunchback has supernatural powers. He's very creepy. They find him in this like performing arts district where he's performing in a play, and then all of a sudden he starts following the blind woman around, and like I think he kills people, but like it doesn't really say why. He ends up having a falling out with the blind woman, and people of various Yakuza gangs are chasing him. He has the ability to jump from the street up onto a rooftop. He wears someone else's head at one point. There's all sorts of weird stuff. There are supposed wax heads in this one part, but then they might be real human heads, but we never find out. There's lots of arms cut off, heads cut off, blood spurting everywhere. This is a wild movie, probably for fans of horror if you don't mind a lot of action in there. But I would not call it a horror movie, although it does look kind of scary from the black cat's face in there. This movie was done by Teruo Ishii, which I don't know if I butchered that name or not, but he has done many other horror movies. This guy made 68 movies, and in 1969 alone, he made 6 movies. In 1970, he made 2. One of them was a prison break movie that's very obscure, and I couldn't find it anywhere. And the other one was this. So the music for both of these movies is great, by the way. The music you heard there was the theme for Blind Woman's Curse, because I couldn't find any isolated music from The Vampire Doll. So I would definitely recommend both of these movies. I would give them both a 7 out of 10, although I would say that The Blind Woman's Curse is more exciting and a better movie. The only thing about it is that it kind of makes less sense. So I would have given it an 8, except it doesn't make that much sense. So we're going to give it a 7. All right. I'm hoping you enjoyed the other flavor here. We had some Filipino movies last time, some Japanese movies this time. I love watching different types of movies, seeing different types of cultures. It makes it a lot more interesting than just seeing British people with fangs and walking around to symphonic piano scores. All right, see you next time.